Hey guys, it's RichboyJhae here back in with another video, and this is going to be episode 1 of the Vardos mock build series. It feels so weird to say that considering I've been saying the crate mock build series for so long, but nonetheless, I am super excited to finally get this thing started. I understand that this mock is probably a week and a day behind schedule. I was supposed to have the first video out a little bit a while ago, but some things came up. I've been working a lot recently, and of course there was the big task of having to get crate completely sorted. But crate is mostly sorted, and now we can finally move on with actually building Vardos. One of the first things I want to get into is that in this first episode, it's going to be split into 2 parts. The first part, I'm actually going to show you guys a video of me kind of playing through the game of Battlefront 2 on the Vardos level, and I'll be kind of pointing out certain things that I want to incorporate into the mock. And I think this will be particularly informative for the people who have not seen the planet in the game, who have not been able to play the game, or have not seen like in-depth videos on it, and even people who have played the game. I think it'll be interesting for you guys to hear some of the things that stuck out to me in the mission and what I would like to incorporate into this mock. So even if you have seen the planet before, I think that it'll be an interesting part of the video. If you have no interest in seeing that at all, you can go ahead and skip ahead to about like the halfway point of the video. I'm sure by then we'll have moved on to actually like planning out the mock, which brings me to the second part, which is going to be us planning out the mock. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, guys. Hey guys, RichboyJhae here, back with the first episode of Rich Boy Game. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, let's jump right into Vardos, guys. You can see we have the Corvus landing. That's going to be one of the biggest parts of the mock, and I'm honestly super excited to have the challenge of building it. And I don't know, it's just such a cool ship, especially since it has like a crew and there's a hangar in it and all this cool stuff. And it literally looks like a hybrid between a Star Destroyer and a TIE Fighter. So I'm super excited to be able to build that thing. One of the first things you'll notice is Vardos is not in that great a condition right now. You can see that the Empire is carrying through with Operation Cinder, which essentially is just them trying to strike fear into their people by destroying the planet. So basically the same thing. It was like the Death Star, just maybe not as powerful. It kind of takes place over time. One of the other things you'll notice is that I'm going to need to have some custom figures for these Inferno Squad boyos. I mentioned that before. Right now, the top option I'm looking at is AV figures. So they seem to be the most cost-effective way to go about doing it. I'll have to maybe do a little bit more research, but I've talked to some people who custom print, and it just doesn't seem cost-effective for it, since the helmet is such an interesting shape. But moving forward, I'm obviously going to be building this landing platform. You can see there's a Lambda parked right there. I want to have my UCS Lambda in this mock. It actually won't be parked here towards the end of the map. It ends up being further kind of in that direction, and it unloads troops. So that'll be part of like the main battle part of the mock. Another thing is I've been kind of thinking about like how I actually want to build this landing platform. I feel like it's somewhere between black and dark gray. It probably looks more dark gray, honestly. I feel like my intuition and instincts tell me, oh, Imperial landing platform has to be black, like in the Death Star or even the landing platform on Endor. But it'll probably work out better for me if I just make it dark gray, just because I have so many dark gray bricks. I don't have nearly so many black bricks as I have dark gray, so that should work out pretty well. The only thing I'm kind of concerned about is that there are so many other like dark gray buildings, especially that main tower. So I'll have to figure out a way to conserve enough bricks to where I don't like use all of them on this giant landing platform. Another thing you'll also see is like the Empire has set up barricades, and I'm literally about to walk through one right now. I'm super excited. Oh, that dude just saluted me. I'm super excited to finally be able to build a mock and use some of my Imperial stuff from my collection, so that'll be really exciting. Another thing I'm also going to have to consider is how I'm actually going to create the characters of Vardos. So you can see they look rather interesting. They kind of have fancier versions of like the Star Wars robes. They look very sophisticated, so I don't know, I have to put a lot of hard thought into it. The general color scheme for them seems to be red, blue, and white. So, I don't know, I'll have to keep that in mind when looking at torsos and legs for them. If anyone has an idea of what I can use for them, please let me know. You can see, yeah, the Empire is literally just set up this kind of barricaded walkway for us to get to Protectorate Gleb, who we're trying to extract from this planet. lots of Vardos citizens being taken hostage and tons of stormtroopers. I don't know if I'll have enough stormtroopers for this MOC. I'm probably going to have to buy some. Probably will reach out to the Brickwiz. He seems to have a ton of the most recent stormtroopers, so that'll be something to look into. Now this is probably the coolest part of the MOC. I just want to like pause for a second and just like look at this aesthetic. This giant tower. I love the red accents. It'll definitely stand out in this MOC. It's going to be the largest part of the MOC. I don't even know how tall I'm going to make it, but it's going to have to be huge. It honestly might get close to the ceiling in this room. So I'm honestly super stoked to build it. The shape of it doesn't seem too complicated, so I'm not like super concerned with trying to figure out a design that'll work. It's a circular shape, and it just kind of goes straight up with those like spires that come out of the sides of it. So honestly, I'm just so excited to be able to build that. Gonna have to also build a big statue. Big statue. I'm honestly not sure who this is. My first guess would be Iden Versio's dad, just because he's a high-ranking Imperial officer and this is his home planet. But yeah, that'll be kind of cool. I probably will look into doing like the Ant-Man big figure that came in that airport set. I may like model it after that and use that to design the statue. Another thing is you'll notice there are a lot of like red trees and leaves. The trees are really interesting. They all kind of intertwine like this, so I have to figure out a good design for that. And all the leaves are red, so I was gifted a bunch of like red flower parts from someone in my lug. I imagine I'll be using a ton of those in this MOC. But yeah, lots of grays and blacks and light grays in this MOC, which is really right up my alley because like those are the pieces I have the most of, considering I build mostly Star Wars stuff. I'm also gonna have to consider like how I want to integrate the water. I'm not sure if the water is just like a result of this bad storm. You can see it's raining a lot, or if there is just always water on Vardos. Either way, I'll have to have it integrated in this MOC somehow, and I'll probably just use some like trans clear studs for that. Probably just gonna pour them in. I don't want to spend too much time stacking water studs in this MOC, but who knows? Like that was our decision whenever we were doing Scarif, and we ended up stacking the studs anyways. But that's a problem for future Jalen. Present Jalen is just gonna worry about other things right now. So right now they're trying to get Protectorate Glove. This is kind of where the betrayal actually happens. I wouldn't really call it betrayal, but essentially what happens is like the main protagonist, Iden Versio, and her friend Del Miko decide they want to save the citizens of Vardos, whereas their mission was to just extract one person. You can see Hask is like, no, we are not taking other people with us. We're just doing what we're supposed to do. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this, but you get the idea. At this point, they defect from the Empire, and now we're about to get into some serious business. And now you guys get to see me actually try to play this game. Now, apparently you can just like walk past these guys, so that's what I'm going to try to do. I don't want to spend too much of this video shooting poorly and missing people, so I'm just going to try to get past as many of these people as I can without being seen. The general idea of this is to give you guys an idea of like what's going to be in the MOC. Alright, so we got past those boyos. Gonna unlock this door. Once again, guys, just look at the aesthetic of that tower. I think that's just going to be so impressive to build in Lego. As you saw with the Scarif MOC, I am no stranger to large towers. Alright, here we go. So, let's take care of these guys. I'm not sure if I'll include this part in the MOC, just because obviously like I'm inside of a building right now. It'll be mostly hidden. It's kind of a cool part of the MOC, honestly. Like I would like to be able to integrate it somehow. It looks nice, but I'd have to figure out some creative way to like be able to pull off the side of the building so you can actually see into where we are right now. But this is actually going to be a big part of the MOC. Before I actually start shooting people, later on this mission, we're going to hijack an AT-AT walker, and we're actually going to come back through here, and we're going to have to destroy that satellite, and then over there, the Corvus is actually parked on the other side of this wall. But yeah, so that's going to have to be something we do as well. Oh god. Almost died there. Yeah, like I said, I'm not great at video games, guys. You will quickly realize that. It's all good though. It is all good. Alright, there's like a scout trooper over there. I think I got him. So yeah, once you're in that AT-AT, you come through here and you like have to blast that wall down in order to get back to the Corvus. So this is going to be a big part of the MOC. I think whenever I add my AT-AT to it, I'll have it somewhere in here. So that'll be kind of fun. Let's move along.
Escaping ships. We're not the only
Yeah, there's actually like a surprising amount of water in this planet.
This way.
Because there's so much, I don't know, I get the feeling that it probably is just always there, and maybe the level has risen because of the storm. But I think it's kind of cool that they incorporated that. It's a very nice looking planet, and honestly, I think it'll be conducive to a nice looking Lego MOC. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Took him out. Tons of Imperial walkers just treading across this map. I would love to be in a position where I had like multiples of my walker, but I don't really want to use my funds to do that in this MOC. I feel it would be better served in other places, and also I don't want to crowd the MOC with large scale vehicles. So I think my one will suffice in this circumstance. One of the other things we have to consider is like the elevation of this MOC. You can see like a lot of the areas there's like stairs that go upwards, so it'll end up being, it's not going to be a very flat MOC, which is nice, because that was basically created outside of like the outside of the mountains, and I'll be happy to, you know, have a MOC that looks a little bit more dynamic. I think it'll be very visually interesting with all the various levels. Lots of these cargo crates as well. I'll probably use the design from the orange ones and those crate sets. I mean, scarab sets. Jeez, I'm still making that mistake. Anyways, yeah, I'll probably use the design from those because those things are just laying all over the place in this map. Jeez, I just totally missed that. I'm playing this on like the easiest mode too, so that'll give you guys some insight as to how terrible I am at video games. There we go. Okay, so you can see the AT-AT walker is parked over there. One of the actually cool things about this map, see, that's like the most annoying thing, the fact that I'm kind of limited on where I can go and what I can see because they want me to stay on target. But I just want to show you guys kind of back here. There's like a street and there's these cool speeders, not speeders, like I don't even know how you describe it, just like transport ships chilling back there. They're parked. I would love to, if I have enough room, I would love to build a couple of them. I think that'll look really cool in the MOC. I'll just have to see. I think honestly the very edge of the MOC will probably stop like right here where this AT-AT walker is. Probably won't be able to build the street to save space, but the street will probably start somewhere over there and then go straight back through where we just were, through that courtyard as we make our way back to the Corvus. Alright, let's hop in this thing. But yeah, like I said, there's these like ships just parked here, and I would love to like add those to the MOC somehow. Just it depends on whether or not I have enough room. But yeah, this is kind of where a lot of the destruction happens, and this will be such a fun scene to recreate. I feel it's honestly like impossible to tell. I was trying to see if like the AT-AT leaves footprints in the ground. If my memory serves correctly, I guess the one that walked past us earlier didn't, so I probably won't have to worry about like, you know, destroying the street or anything like that. I can just keep the street clean. Also gonna have to build a lot of these like anti-air cannons that we end up destroying on our way back to the Corvus.
He's following his orders.
Yeah, there's just going to be tons of just like wiped out stormtroopers like lining the streets of this MOC, and honestly, I think it's just gonna look so sweet. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need more than one ATST in this MOC, which would be nice. Like, I still haven't even shown you guys it, but the MOC that I have of it is just such a beautiful looking design, and I do not mind having multiples of those at all. I swear, my Imperial collection out of this MOC is going to be intense. Here we go. This is where the TIE Fighter comes into play. I'm not sure if I want to incorporate it flying like right there. I'll probably just like have like ATSTs and troops just lined up in the streets right here. I don't really want to clutter the scene. I just want the aesthetic of, like, you know, an AT-AT walking through the streets, and then just all these troops and ATST walkers coming out to try and stop it.
There, the main targeting dish. If we destroy it, it will disable every.
And of course, this is the big satellite I mentioned earlier that we have to destroy. So the map in reality isn't that big. Like, that was one of the deciding factors, or one of the things that helped me decide I was actually going to build this MOC. Just because, like, I didn't want it to be crate size. I wanted to do something on a relatively smaller scale, but, you know, still have a lot of detail in it. I think this is the perfect compromise, you know. Just because it is, you know, going to be smaller in size, I think it'll, like, have far more detail than crate, and I look forward to that challenge. You know, the fact that I can have, like, these tables in the middle of this room and actually walk all the way around them is really nice, because crate was kind of a mess in that regard. Yeah, so you can see this is where we were earlier. I'm gonna have to have my AT-AT marching through the streets right here. Probably gonna have some, like, destroyed ATST legs on fire. Those would be fun to build. Wow, that new ATST set will actually work well for that. Don't need the body. Like I said, if I had two of my walkers, it would be, like, really fun to recreate this matchup right here. Two AT-ATs just blasting each other at point blank range, but like I said, I don't want to waste too much of the money on this MOC on just building, you know, another walker. I'd rather have more detail and things like that. A lot of these buildings are pretty tall, so, you know, I'll be using a lot of brick to do that. And I'm kind of deciding, like, how much of an interior I want to add to them. Obviously, all the buildings won't have a full interior, but I certainly do want to add something to some of the buildings. Maybe some Easter eggs, stuff like that. Like, there's going to be so much room in it, may as well use it in some way. But now we got to take down this final TIE Fighter, and we're going to make our way back to the Corvus.
Corvus, we are nearly there. Hurry, Commander. The storm is.
So as you can see, our AT-AT walker was just destroyed by the atmosphere. Now we are hopping out. You can see now, like, the landing platform is just destroyed. And I kind of won't, I really won't be, like, replicating this in the MOC, like this just destroyed wall area. The battlefield will mostly be clean, but over near the other side is kind of what I want to do for the, like, landing platform area. You can see if we come closer to over here. He's got a lot of stormtroopers. Okay. So, as we come closer to over here, there's going to be, like, a lambda that flies in and parks and drops off some troops. And that's kind of the scene that I want to replicate. So, it'll be a more clean-looking battlefield. I may add a few things that are destroyed, but for the most part, I want to keep it clean. You can see there's a lambda, it parks. I always find it interesting that it parks backwards. I don't know why. Honestly, it's funny because what it makes me think of is, like, how in the Lego set, the original ones, the boarding ramp was actually on the back of the lambda. So, like, every time I see it parked backwards, I just think, like, of that set, like, parking and then letting down the back and then troops coming out of it. Yeah, we have another AT-AT in the distance. I won't be adding that one. Obviously, like I said before, I don't have multiple AT-ATs, and I don't want to build another one for this MOC. I'd rather spend that money on other things. Yeah, this is really the final part of the MOC. I like this part of the mission just because it gives me really easy access to be able to check out a lot of the details in the landing platform, like these stripes and patterns in it. I'm gonna have to pay extra close attention to. Honestly, think like I'm probably gonna make this decision right now. I'm probably just gonna make the landing platform dark gray. Like looking at it more and more, it just looks dark gray. Like if you even kind of contrast it with like the wings of the TIE fighter, which are like definitely black, and even like these scorch marks right here, there's a definite like difference between the dark gray and the black. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. A lot of these patterns are going to be interesting to recreate, especially this circle right here in the middle, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. But yeah, this is honestly it. I don't really have too much else to show you guys. Hopefully that was really informative and letting you know like what's actually going to go into this MOC and give you a good idea of the flavor of Vardos, honestly. So let's go ahead and move to the next part of the video, guys. Alright, so let's start off with a little planning. You can see that I've started kind of figuring out where everything is going to be placed in this MOC. One of the first things I do want to get to is this Imperial Lambda class shuttle over here. You can see it's dropping off some troops, so I'm really happy with the placement of that. In the game, it's backwards, like the back is kind of facing this direction, like I mentioned in the walkthrough video. I think I like it like this better because you're able to more clearly see the guys coming out of that boarding ramp at the very bottom, so I think I want to stick with that. Over here is where the Corvus is going to be parked, so I've kind of left myself this entire area for like the big landing platform / battlefield. So pretty happy with the allotment of space for that. The one thing that is proving to be a problem, however, is the AT walker. Now, I originally wanted to have it to where it was walking down the street right here and kind of coming over to the landing platform where the Corvus would be. But now that I've actually got it built up, I'm realizing that there is not a ton of space, and I'm not going to be able to build this in such a way where I can have like that barrier right here with the two buildings next to it and have the Corvus on the other side and have enough room between the two things. Like there's no way for me to like replicate the scene where there's like stormtroopers shooting at the AT walker. So that kind of leaves me with two options then, because I do want to keep the MOC at this size. Don't want to expand it too much. Like I said before, it is very nice being able to walk around this entire table, unlike Crate. But what I've kind of come up with is I'm either going to just leave the walker out in its entirety. I'm not going to be too heartbroken if that ends up being the decision I make, just because I have used this walker in many different MOCs, and you know, it's more worth it to me to make sure that this MOC isn't too crowded with the big ships, or, and this is probably what I'm leaning most towards, I'll actually have the walker kind of crash down, replicating the scene where I guess the lightning strikes it and like it literally just nosedives straight into the ground. And that would leave me a lot more space because I wouldn't have to have like clearance between it and the barrier that would be right here. I could just lay it straight down right in front of the barrier, and it would actually make a lot more sense in terms of the context of the MOC, because in the MOC there's going to be the like battle going on the landing platform, as you see at the very last part of the mission, and it would just make more sense if like the walkers crash. Obviously Iden and Del escape from the walker, they walk over towards the Corvus, and they have to fend off the stormtroopers while the Corvus prepares to fly off of Vardos. So I think that's honestly what I'm leaning most towards. It'll also be pretty interesting because for the past few MOCs I've had this walker in it, and it's been walking, but I've never actually had it in a crash state. So I don't know, maybe that'll be a little bit more interesting, just something that I've never really done before in a MOC. I'll have to think about it, but I think right now I'm probably leaning most towards having the walker in a crash state. Let me know what you guys think about it. Is it just gonna ruin the MOC for you guys if it's not walking, or do you think it's totally acceptable to just have it in a crash state, or do you just not care to see it at all and I can just leave it off the MOC in its entirety and just have kind of like a shootout going on in this scene? But yeah, that's all I really have for now. I'm going to go ahead and continue doing more of those orange bricks for lines to kind of figure out where everything is going to be placed. Also, I got my monitor right there. That's where I can like pull up the game and look at reference material. And but right there is actually where the big tower is going to be, so I'm leaving myself that area for that. So I'm going to go ahead and check out. When I come back, we'll have a little bit more of the diagramming done. Alright guys, so plans have changed quite a bit. I was literally sitting around for a few hours just trying to figure out how the old size of the MOC was going to be configured and how I could include all the scenes that I wanted to do. And I ultimately just came to the conclusion that it just wasn't going to work out. There simply was not enough space for what I wanted to do. I initially was pretty dead set on the size of the MOC, but I realized that it's more worth it for me to include all the scenes and to start omitting things. Like, at one point I even considered just omitting the Corvus in its entirety to make sure that I was able to include some of the other scenes I wanted to do, but ultimately decided, forget that. I'm just going to extend the MOC by a table so you can see that it has increased in size by 50%, which is honestly quite a lot. Had to rearrange some furniture to make that happen, but nonetheless, here it is. I even started kind of outlining where some of the things are going to go, and I'm feeling far more comfortable with this setup. So, like you guys saw in the initial mission in the video game, I actually parked the Lambda class shuttle backwards. I just thought, why not just go ahead and make it accurate to the game. Corvus is going to be sitting right here on a landing platform. These kind of square areas are going to be where some of the buildings are. To the right of this one, there's going to be that barricade that the AT-AT has to shoot down. And the nice thing now is that there's so much space between where the AT-AT will be standing and where this barricade is that I can line up a bunch of figures and maybe even put the AT-ST there that'll be shooting at it. So I'm actually far more comfortable with the size of that, so I can actually include most of that street scene and not have to settle for making the AT-AT crash or just not having it at all. Moving over to the other side, this is going to be where that big courtyard is. So there'll be the giant courtyard, the statue of the Imperial officer, and then right here is where the big tower is going to be. So you can imagine that thing's going to get pretty freaking huge. But yeah, all in all, I'm really happy with this size, realizing I'm not going to have to make as many compromises as I did before, which is nice for me just because I really do like Vardos, and I, of course, with any MOC, want to make sure that I don't leave anything on the table, so to speak. Alright guys, that's going to finish up this week's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I do apologize for not really getting nearly as much building done as I'd like to. I just realized that the release date for this was becoming later and later, and I wanted to put something out and show you guys that I have actually been working on this MOC pretty hard, honestly. I think I underestimated how long it would take for me to figure out not only a size, but a configuration that I would be happy with. But as you can see, I'm pretty satisfied with what I have so far, and then next week you guys can expect for much more things to have been built. So I'm glad all of the pre-planning phase has been gotten out of the way. I can actually start working on stuff. I think the first thing I'm going to tackle is the big landing platform. I'll try to work on multiple things at the same time during this MOC, just because I realized with Crate kind of doing the same thing over and over again got a little annoying, and it kind of burned me out on certain parts of it. So I'm going to try to keep things much more fresh in my mind with this MOC, and I think it'll be more interesting for you guys to see more things kind of being developed at the same time. So with that being said, you guys can expect a new episode this Sunday. Please look out for it. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do that. I am so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world for me for that to happen between now and the next episode, so I can do some of the special things I've been planning to do on this channel for you guys once I hit 10K. But yeah, that's going to finish up the video, guys. Like I always say, if you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, and I will see you guys very soon.